Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Nick from Jesuit Decodes, and just a quick little video, but once again, just want to point out the inexcusable evidence that, there is a mass manipulation going on. There is a deception going on, that runs rampant through the entire world, essentially, but especially here in the United States. And if you're following my videos or if you're aware of gematria, this is just going to be par for the course. But once again, just to show that the truth of the world is that the Jesuit order is truly in control of things, and they are scripting events and carrying out these events that lead to the degradation of our rights and liberties as Americans, and for the entire world as well, not just us, because they're a global order. And they've been around since 1534, and from the beginning, they've been the military wing of the Catholic Church, in defense of the Pope. And think about all the stuff that has come since that time, as well as before it. Not only the Crusades with the Knights Templar, who were another secret society, but out of the Knights Templar came the Jesuit order. And what we're showing is that the information that they're in control of is referred to as gematria, or not that it's their information, but they're using this information to script events and, stuff as simple as like TV shows and movies, just putting the truth in plain sight. We've all heard that saying before. And I put out videos like this before, talking about just anything, stuff like Goodfellas, or a show as silly as The Office, where a Jesuit prep school, Scranton U, the flag for that school is visible in every single episode of The Office. And The Office is 201 episodes long. And that's the number of the Jesuits, 201, right? Society of Jesus, or the Jesuit order, equals 201. The current Pope, who happens to be the first Jesuit Pope, his name equals 201. They made the big thing about him living in Suite 201, and the name of that suite equals 201. Just an endless list, right? But in this example, the movie Donnie Darko, which released on January 19th, 2001, we can once again prove, undeniably, that it is the Jesuits who are in control of these scripts and these numbers. And you can see it clear as day because it's their numbers every single time over these events, or these movies, or whatever. So let's just look at the gematria of Donnie Darko. So notice 56, 187, right? So now watch this. Society of Jesus. 56, 187. Just like, right, Donnie Darko. Here, I'll make it even clearer. Okay, but see the overlap? 56, 187. I also want you to notice the 191 in Society of Jesus, because when you look at the movie, look at when it was released. January 19th, 119, or that can be written 19/1, like 191, like Society of Jesus. So all the numbers are hit, right? Very clearly. 191, 56, 187. Also notice they make sure to tell you the movie is an hour and 53 minutes. And that number isn't arbitrary as well, because the Jesuit order, Jesuit order, notice how it equals 153. So just once again, all these numbers being stamped. But here, let's read, in light of the year that this movie came out, in light of the day, which it can be written 119, that sounds an awful lot like, 9/11. That's the only other day that can be written 119 or 911. But let's read the synopsis. During the presidential election of 1988, a teenager named Donnie Darko sleepwalks out of his house one night and sees a giant, demonic-looking rabbit named Frank, who tells him the world will end in 28 days. When Donnie returns home, he finds that a jet engine has crashed into his bedroom. A jet engine, okay? Is Donnie living in a parallel universe, or is he suffering from mental illness? Or will the world really end? And so think about that. On 1/19 in 2001, this movie that is clearly encoded with Jesuit numbers, just like how 9/11 was clearly encoded with Jesuit numbers, it's not a coincidence that the plot of this movie is about a plane crashing through this guy's through his bedroom, which does kill him, but what you find out is that, it's really all time travel and whatnot. But I mean, just think about that in of itself. It clearly is not an accident. But also, I mean, the use of the 28 days, I find that interesting. Also, the year 1988. 88 is an interesting number, dealing with the eclipse, because when you look at an 8, it sort of represents, a pathway, like a snake when you draw it out. So, but 28 is interesting because 28 is half of 56, and I definitely do see that pattern come together a lot, which is kind of interesting. But just to keep it to the topic, there can be no mistaking. And if you still think it's a coincidence, I mean, in this movie, because the character's name is Donnie Darko, and when you watch the movie, clear as day, they show that he goes to a Jesuit high school, okay? And when they first show that Jesuit high school, they make sure to pan onto the IHS logo of the school, which stands for Ius Hominum Salvator, right? And that's the Jesuit motto of the 32nd degree. But here, look. See how Donnie Darko is 61 all the way on the bottom? And that number is relevant because when you write out IHS, see how it equals 18 and 18 in two separate ciphers? So that Donnie Darko equaling 61, 18 coming together. Definitely not an accident. I mean, it's clear. It's clear what's going on. Also, it's the 19th day of the year. The word chaos equals 19. And clearly with this movie, they're foreshadowing the events of 9/11, like they've done with so many other films. Like the movie Ocean's 11 that came out after 9/11, the same year. It's all numerical. Here, I want to find the school. But I definitely encourage you to watch this. Because it tells you it's the Jesuits, and it's their propaganda. Because it's like, okay, they're saying it's either he's mentally ill, or there's this rabbit that's following him everywhere that happens to be, is interdimensional or whatever. And, I think that is the case in the film, because time does rewind in the film, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, you can take my word for it. It's clearly a Jesuit school. And like I've said so many times, a film where you can, or a TV series where you can definitely prove it's the Jesuits is The Sopranos. Tony Soprano's kids, they go to Verbum Dei High School, where Verbum Dei equals Jesuit order. It equals the 153, 144, like I just showed. And in season 1 of the show, it's stressed that his daughter, she must go to Georgetown. Georgetown is the number 1 college for her. And of course, Georgetown is the first Jesuit college in the nation. And then later down the road, in the final season, it's funny because she ends up dating a kid who went to Georgetown. So that's how they do it, though. It's not in your face, but it's just paying attention. And I'm telling you, when you're watching these films with the numbers in mind, you'll hear how they're repeating the same number over and over again in, say, like a 5-minute span. I mean, it's totally undeniable. So I was just showing IHS, right? 45, 18. If you watch the James Bond films, which is another mockery, it's a guy with a license to kill, right? Murdering people on behalf of the British government, MI6. But in James Bond, it's 45 city. All they say is the only number they use is 45. And why? Because I just showed IHS equals 45 in reverse simple English. And, I mean, we can see that pattern persisting through things besides movies, but it's besides the point. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the Jesuit school. But, I mean, I think I've made my point. I mean, this movie's clearly encoded by the Jesuits, or by, people that are carrying out the will of things that they don't really understand. But it's, I mean, come on. So his name's Frank. I don't even know. I never even looked at this. Interesting. Definitely interesting. But yeah, the 28 days is something I want to... Alright, and, I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal... Notice he's born on the 19th as well, which is interesting. Just like that movie came out on the 19th. But, I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal equals 74. Gematria equals 74, right? English equals 74. Definitely interesting. And then he ended up playing... Who did he just play? Mysterio. So that's interesting. Let's see. Drew Barrymore. Look at her birthday. 2/2/2. Maggie Gyllenhaal. I didn't know they were related. She's in a Batman. So, I mean, yeah, it's just like... Okay, this standalone movie, right, that comes out in 2001, the year of 9/11, on a day that can be written just like 9/11, right? And then you see clearly encoded in Donnie Darko, 187, and those are clear numbers of the Jesuits, I mean, that we see time and time again. I mean, how about on 18/7 of this year, when Donald Trump was in the news and they brought back up his 187 minutes of indecision. His 187 minutes of indecision on 18/7. And 18/7 is when he began his GOP convention. So, I mean, it's pretty clear. It is. Richard Kelly. I mean, these are guys to definitely look at, because how else could this movie come to fruition? Notice the budget, $4.5 million, what I was just saying about IHS. So, look at this. What was it just saying? Filming took 28 days in the summer of 2000. I mean, really? Look, what is the synopsis of the movie? The world will end in 28 days. I mean, is that a coincidence? They're saying 28 days, and then they say the film took 28 days. What? At the Sundance Film Festival. Huh. How about that? Sun. I mean, that's the Jesuits. Their logo is quite literally the sun. And what does sun equal? 18... What I was just talking about, Donnie Darko equals 18, or 61, the 18th. I mean, so this is interesting. Hold on. Here, look at this. The film premiered on January 19, 2001 at the Sundance Film Festival, followed by a limited theatrical release on October 26, which is interesting. What was I just saying? IHS, what does that stand for? Isus Hominum Salvator. And Isus Hominum Salvator equals 126. Just like you can write it 10-2-6. Look at this. This is fucked up. Because the film's advertising featured a crashing plane, and the September 11th attacks had occurred a month and a half before, it was scarcely advertised. Well, no, see, that's bullshit. It didn't occur before. The film released the first month of the year. See, I mean, it's not even, what they're saying doesn't even make sense. It was scarcely advertised, but the film released in January. Okay. I mean, you can think this stuff's legit, Look at that. On October, look at that, 10-2, that's 201 in reverse, and that's the other major number of the Jesuits, 201. Come on. Donnie. Donnie 61. Are you kidding? Come on. Come on. Alright, Dark. 32. What did I just see that was 32? Jake Gyllenhaal. 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes. I mean, it's just numbers galore. It's like, it's not like I'm just looking for numbers within the title and the release date. They're blasting numbers throughout the movie. Dr. Thurman. And then see, that's what it is. They say paranoid schizophrenia, and isn't that what people are labeled sometimes when people speak the truth? They're called schizophrenic. And in the show, he's trying to tell people, oh my God, I'm having these tribulations or whatever, but nobody listens to him. Yeah, but you can do this with basically any movie. It's not just Donnie Darko, it's not just The Sopranos. It's everything, man. And why do you think 9/11 happened in the year 2001? Because it's 201, And it's interesting it's set in October, because October equals New York. Literally, it's like exactly New York. And then New York is 666. And like they're saying this is a demonic entity or whatever. But I mean, I'm outside. I'm in my car. I see a possum just ran by my car. But I mean, I hope this should be very clear. This should wake up the world, honestly. If you just, I mean, like a jet engine crashing through his, right? I mean, come on. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Okay, I guess we can look at IHS. And this is the logo that is shown in the film. So it's like, okay, people that point, like, okay, another reason I wanted to bring up the James Bond films was because he's told by his director, the director of like the MI6 or whatever, that once you become an agent for us, there's no more believing in coincidence. That's in the show. So they say you can't believe in coincidence, and the goal is to look for patterns, and those patterns allow you to, uncover the killer or uncover whatever it is you may be looking for. And you also see people just in the real world talking about that type of stuff when it comes to science, or when it comes to, an athlete who they're trying to determine whether or not he's good at that sport, through their stats. Which stats are what? They're patterns. So why is it in this case, when I'm pointing out clear as day, the Jesuit number is encoded throughout the entire film, right? But then I also point out that they're literally showing you the Jesuit logo in the film. I mean, why is that something that's not discussed? Or why is that something that's not, clicking in people's heads? Because, it really should. It really should. But, people like us, we're awake to this information. And you can be watching something like CNN and be like, look how they just used that number. Like how on 18/7 they used the 187 minutes. I'm like, how do people watch that? And how does it not like develop in their brain and be like, okay, well, why should I trust these agencies? Why should I trust these news networks? But it really does go back to programming and conditioning, and the school system is definitely a big part of that, because for 13 straight years, you're basically forced to go into this building, and learn for 7 hours, and then maybe go to school sports or whatever, like I did, play baseball, basketball, volleyball. And that's your whole time. Your whole time is devoted, to being part of this state system, which is funded by the state. So people from kindergarten, they're meant to entrust these forces, and say, okay, Like, these people are the moral authority, apparently, but when in actuality, it's all nonsense. I mean, that's why what you learn about, like, literally every single year, you learn about Christopher Columbus, the Nina the Pink, all the bullshit. There's no reason to learn that, you know? Or to learn... I mean, I graduated from Binghamton University with a degree in finance and information systems, which is like coding and stuff. And I can tell you that there wasn't one thing in high school or middle school or elementary school that helped me to, you know, progress in college. It's all a big fucking waste of time. Like, you look in Italy how they do it. From a young age, the kids are told, okay, you can pick, you know, the type of university that you want to go to, whether it's for a trade or for, you know, cooking or anything, like become an engineer. At a younger age, they make you decide what to do. I know I'm going on a rant, but it's all part of the problem. But in this country, it's like, okay, you have to go through the motions for literally like 16 fucking years, have really no idea what you're doing, go to school, bullshit with your friends, you know, really, you don't really try to pay attention that much, or when you do pay attention, it's just to pass the class. You know, it really has no applicable real life, like, solutions to what you're actually trying to do in life. Like, the way we live in this country, like the slave mentality, and it is a slave mentality because you're waking up, you know, people that work in the city that do construction or whatever, that are in unions, like, for example, the biggest union in New York, you know, Local 3, like, those people they're getting up at 4 a.m. and they're not getting home till 5 p.m. And that's after years of going to school at exactly the same time. So how can you tell me that school isn't just part of the programming and conditioning to eventually work a job and then stay stuck in that job for the rest of your life? Basically, that's 90% of the population. And so what does that do? It leads to stagnation, and it leads to people not really understanding jack shit, you know? Because never do they have the time to think about things. And they'll literally tell you that, these people. They'll say, oh, well, I don't have the time to think about that because, you know, I have to make money and provide for my family. Which, okay, fine. But to be fair, honestly, you're the one that wanted to have the family. You're the one that wanted to, you know, get married and have 2 to 3 kids, you know? And that's all your time. So, like, okay, yeah, it's a good thing, like, bringing life into the world, if you think so, because, you know, you could also be like, well, maybe it's really not, because this world is kind of fucking shitty, and, you know, it just seems to be getting worse and worse. Like, even people that aren't awake, people are even starting to realize now, they're saying, well, you know what, like, Trump, he wasn't really that bad relative to Biden. So, but I'm not saying that that's the thought process you should have, but at least people are starting to see, okay, well, how did 81 million people vote for Biden? You know, how is he a president who really has no fucking conception, who has no idea what he's doing? He seems to be, you know, off the fritz. But I'm telling you, it's all part of the joke. Biden isn't senile. He isn't nothing. He's acting, okay? And it's very obvious that he is acting because these people, and, you know, you can see it by the numbers. But I guess the point in that rant, you know, after showing Donnie Darko and all that stuff, is that people can't see the obvious, man. When the numbers are blasted in their face, you know, and they're relative to what they're watching. It's not like these numbers are arbitrary, because I'm proving to you with this show, this movie, that there's definitely something going on, because there's no way that what I just showed is a coincidence. And I'll take that to anybody. I would go on CNN, you know, and bring that up and be like, how can you guys refute this? And then if they do, you just keep showing them the information. And that's supposed to be scientific, right? But to the people that are brainwashed by the left versus right thing of things, like, it's bad, man. But, I mean, they say you only need 20% of a population to do something. But the more I think about it, man, like, I don't really see anything changing, because the powers that are, they've been entrenched, I mean, for 500 plus years, man. You know, they were here at the beginning of the country. You know, they were running shit. And even if there were people that were going against them at the foundation, they still couldn't stop them. So why do we have this thought process that today, where things are so centralized, where things are so controlled, how are we supposed to do something, man? This is what I'm saying. I don't see things changing, by happenstance. Things are going to have to change, by the will of the people that are awake. And what is that? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take, but it's going to have to take a bit of luck, timing. And I don't think necessarily the scale of what you're doing, but like the velocity of what you're doing and how impactful it can be, in regards to, trying to really get the word out. And, I think there's going to be a meetup in the city, because I live in New York, so I'm close to the city. But there's going to be a meetup, I think, with the Gematria community, people that are aware, on September 11th. And, this could truly be something that, if it's done correctly, maybe it gets picked up or recognized. But, that's the thing. It's like, all the people, if you're trying to broadcast it to a news network, like, the news networks are controlled. So why would they put the word out there? It's like, we're too far into the game because the generations before us didn't do anything. They didn't see the clear writing on the walls through all of the world wars, which make no fucking sense when you really think about them. It makes no sense why Germany in World War I was demonized for what they did, because they really didn't do anything. And the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed in France, where the Jesuits are from, the Treaty of Versailles unjustly attacked the Germans. And then what did that lead to? It spiraled into the Germans, World War II, and that mentality that they had where they were playing the victim card, or not playing the victim card, but sort of, because Hitler was preaching a socialist agenda, and that was because the people, after World War I, they felt like they were unfairly treated by the rest of Europe, which they were. And then this Adolf Hitler comes in, who I guarantee you is just another puppet on strings, He died at age 56. Adolf Hitler equals 56, 187. I'm telling, it's clear that these guys are Jesuit puppets. But yeah, just what I was saying, World War I, if you pay attention to those events, they say, oh yeah, it was Arch Franz Duke Ferdinand, who, when he was killed, the license plate read the end date of World War I. So that's what I'm telling you. Then when you see the numbers, you have to pay attention to them, because it's like, this is how you're going to wake up, or this is how you're going to wake people up, because anything else is just your opinion. With the numbers, you can be like, okay, boom, this is what they're doing, this is what it's in reference to, and it's clear who it is. It's who I have on my screen. But yeah, this probably isn't the best video, but I'm just speaking my mind. I'm speaking the facts that I know, the facts that I'm aware of. But, there in the 2014 speech by, I forget who it was, but she was talking about numerology, Catherine Lagarde or something. But she was talking about numerology and, it's just, they throw it in your face, man. Also, a personal example that I have, when I was at Binghamton, my college, on 2 separate occasions, I had 2 teachers who, it's interesting because they were both in the business world, in the corporate America, all that stuff. But I had 2 teachers on 2 separate occasions say the phrase, a new world order. It's that's something we're working towards. And, me being awake at the time, I'm just okay. Why would you say that? Why would you just happen to say new world order? Something that has been reverberated for decades, by presidents, by, world leaders. Just, so that's just something I thought was strange. But I'm telling you, if you're not in the know, the people that are, they're closer than you think. Because, it's obvious. They're doing things by, by the numbers. But anyway, what was I saying? So, why did I bring up the world wars? Oh, yeah, because it's so clear. If you decode, especially World War II, if you look into Japan, Look at the numbers of World War, Japan, Hirohito, the Emperor of Japan. Look up Pearl Harbor. When you decode all these things, you'll be like, okay, there's definitely a pattern here. There's definitely something going on. I mean, but the numerology is even more clear than that. You look at World War I, what is it? The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And, like, you're just supposed to believe that happened by chance? A war that lasts for years. It just happens to end in November on the 11th, and then they say on the 11th hour, just to rub it in your face even more, right? And then what's 11? In numerology, 11 is the master number. So, I mean, it really can't be more clear. So, and if you don't think, like, things like sports are rigged, I mean, they definitely are. It's all by the numbers as well. When you see something clear as day in sports, that's like, because you want to pick sports and pick the winners and whatnot, but it's really just the stuff that's so clear. Because, I mean, especially with baseball, there's so many factors that go into it. Like a relief pitcher could come in with a certain number, and they were going with that script, and you didn't even realize it. But I mean, I'm definitely going to try to, look into football and basketball, because I think those should be easier. I mean, it's 5 guys on the court. They don't really deviate that much from, like, a game-to-game basis. And it's not 162 games like baseball. So, and then, of course, baseball equals 162. But all these sports created by Freemasons, who the Jesuits created Freemasonry. But, again, I'm being very tangential. But it's all good information. I challenge you to watch this movie. Throw on your gematria glasses or whatever, and just see. Like, you'll just be like, okay, like, why did they throw this number out? Why did they throw this number out there? Something else I want to challenge you to watch is it's on Netflix, Netflix with the red and black colors, the Jesuit colors, all that stuff. Like the Falcons, whose owner is a public Jesuit. I think he just died at 84 or something stupid like that, which is another big Jesuit number. But, okay, on Netflix, watch World War II in color and watch the episode called Blitzkrieg. And if you don't know what Blitzkrieg is the tactic used by the Germans. What it translates to is lightning war. And basically, what I wanted you to look out for is how much they use the number 56. Or maybe it was the episode on the Battle of Britain. But no, I think it was Blitzkrieg, because Blitzkrieg equals 56. Here, look. See, Blitzkrieg 56. Adolf Hitler. See, Adolf Hitler 56, 61, same thing. I mean, definitely more, but yeah, just, they say, like, there was 56 planers gunned down, and then 2 seconds later, they throw another 56 at you. It's like, okay. But, like I said, it's not just this movie. I mean, I just put out the video on Spider-Man. But, alright. I think I made my point. So, just to reiterate, Donnie Darko, a film that comes out in 2001 on 119, that is basically the mirror of 9/11. It's about a plane crashing through this kid's house that kills him, but then he is able to time travel, with the help of this interdimensional thing or whatever the fuck it is. Donnie Darko equals 56,187. Society of Jesus 56,187. It comes out on 19/1. The Jesuit Order 191. Right? And it's an hour and 53 minutes long. And Jesuit Order is 153. And like I said, if you think that's all a coincidence, in the film, he goes to a Jesuit high school. So, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you thought. If you've seen this movie, something maybe I've missed, or let me know about another film you saw. That's why I want to see comments. People leave comments about movies you saw or TV shows you saw where you can point out a clear pattern. And just in a quick snapshot, just like that. So, all right, I'll leave it there. Also, join my Discord. I'll link it in the bio. I'm doing picks, but, like, I've been doing them for free and everything, but I might start doing, like, a small monthly fee, maybe, like, $10 a month, just because, it does take a little bit of work to, like, decode the picks and then, put them out there and all that stuff. It takes time. It doesn't... But if I did it, it's not going to be like I'm putting out a pick daily. It's just going to be when I see something clear. If it's $10 a month, I can make that back for you in one bet, Something I'm looking at right now is the Yankees for tomorrow, but, stay tuned, join my Discord, and I'll try to get that information out by the start of the game tomorrow. So, all right, everybody, peace.